There's been an eternal debate in the Assassin's Creed community that doesn't really have a consensus, and it has to do with whether Assassin's Creed would work in the modern day. A lot of people say that it wouldn't, mainly because you have cities where it's very difficult to do parkour, depending on which city you pick. You have guns, which kind of reduces hidden blades and swords into irrelevance, which would kind of defeat the iconography of Assassin's Creed. You have mass surveillance, which makes stealth quite hard, and you have cars, machine guns, bombs, helicopters, and things that don't really kind of fit with the Assassin's Creed mythos. I'm making this video because I disagree. I disagree, first of all, with those things ruling out how an Assassin's Creed could work in the modern day, and I also want to make an argument that it's already been done. Now, when you hear this, you probably think that I'm going to talk about Watch Dogs Legion and the Assassin's Creed expansion DLC. And yes, I think that that's a really fun DLC where you can see modern day hidden blades, you can see how an assassin would function in the modern day. And I honestly think Watch Dogs Legion did an amazing job at including the assassins as a DLC within the modern day. But I actually don't think that overall Watch Dogs Legion is that good of a game. It's a bit mediocre, especially when you compare it to the true game that I think has nailed Assassin's Creed in the modern day, which is Watch Dogs 1. Now, if you know anything about me, you know that I'm a bit of an edgelord and I like games that take themselves very seriously and are very dark and gritty. And Watch Dogs 1 is exactly this. I think that it perfectly represents how Assassin's Creed could adapt to the modern day, including things like hacking, parkour, and gun takedowns to incorporate guns into your stealth sections. There's a video that kind of went viral a few months ago that discusses how one modder has basically revolutionized Watch Dogs 1 by adding a lot of content that was cut out, by improving some of the systems, some of the AI, including gun takedowns and gun fu, and a bunch of things that just make it kind of like the ideal modern day Assassin's Creed. So I think there's already a proof of concept as to how you can have a movement-based, strategy-based stealth modern day. And if you just tweaked a few things to make it less Grand Theft Auto-esque and made it more Assassin's Creed-esque, you could have an amazing modern day Assassin's Creed. Picture this. You can parkour across rooftops and skyscrapers in a dense city like London or New York. You have hacking security systems and covert assassinations in bustling urban centers. Assassin's Creed has taken us throughout history. Like, it's done that fantastically well, but this franchise could, in my opinion, thrive in the modern day. Assassin's Creed at the core, if you remove all of the gameplay tropes that it's already revised a million times. I mean, if you compare Assassin's Creed 1 to the RPG trilogy, it's not keeping those gameplay elements from one game to another across 10 different games. It constantly revises itself without necessarily having to sacrifice its identity. Now, I know you do think that, and I agree that Assassin's Creed has sacrificed its identity with Valhalla and Odyssey, but Origins has very different gameplay loop and gameplay style, and I think it's still very much Assassin's Creed. At the core, I think Assassin's Creed more is about its theme, and it's always been about two things: freedom and rebellion. Whether it's fighting Templars in ancient Egypt or Renaissance Italy, the series thrives on its core conflict: control versus free will. But those themes don't have to stay in the past. In fact, there are so many things about the modern day that perfectly reflect how complicated these things have become in the modern day. Today, we live in a world of surveillance, of corporate power, and digital warfare. That sounds like a prime Templar territory to me. Imagine exploring modern cities like London, where your targets are corporate moguls, politicians, or tech overlords controlling society from behind the scenes. I want you to picture maybe the Assassin's Creed 3 modern day missions, the Watch Dogs Legion Assassin's Creed DLC, or, as I'm saying, Watch Dogs 1. Modern cities are playgrounds for stealth and parkour mechanics that define Assassin's Creed. I can imagine scaling glass skyscrapers using some sort of tool, instead of some stone cathedral, or blending into crowds at massive protest or music festivals. I mean, imagine tracking a target through Times Square in a crowd of thousands of people all staring and being distracted by the beautiful lights on the billboards. Think about the potential of incorporating hacking mechanics. It can kind of be an evolution of the lockpicking mechanic that we had in Assassin's Creed Unity, or it can be a sidestep from the hacking mechanic we had in Watch Dogs. An assassin in 2024, 2027, 2028 could disable drones, they could hijack surveillance systems, or manipulate AI to gain an edge over their targets. I think that there's nothing really apart from open cities or open environments in which there's active warfare that could go against the assassin mythos. But if you stay in a city and you stay in an urban environment, I very much think that you could be an assassin, especially if you go to a European city that hasn't updated its architecture all that much. If you go to New York, it might be hard to scale across all the buildings and not be seen. But if you go to a more European city like somewhere in Spain or somewhere in Germany, it's very conceivable to have a modern assassin running through the rooftops that's a blend of the old and the new. Now, there's two obvious things that I think you'd have to compensate for. One is the lost charm or nostalgia of being able to travel to the past, because I know that a lot of people love Assassin's Creed because you can just go to a past time period. So I think this would either have to be a very small side Assassin's Creed game for core Assassin's Creed fans, or it could be a game that lives in two periods. It could be a game where you have a modern day protagonist that every now and then has to do smaller missions in many different places during the past. I know that Desmond's dead, so he's not available for this gig, but imagine that you still were able to play as Desmond, and you had a game where you're running around with him in New York or some other city within the United States. And to solve this grand mystery in the modern modern day. You have to travel to lots of different places in the past for one-off or two-off missions playing as different assassins. Imagine that Desmond had to go back and revisit Ezio for one mission and then go back and play as Connor. Maybe revisit Altair or play as Arno or some new assassin. It'd be really cool to leverage the idea of looking at many different places where you don't want to invest the resources to recreate the entire country or the entire city, but you do want to explore maybe a certain section of a certain historical time. And the second thing is, well, you can't wear sick outfits and hoods. And to this, I disagree. I think that hoods are still very common today, especially in big cities. You could wear a hoodie, you could wear coats, you could wear a bunch of different things that still give that flowing garment kind of look. And you can still kind of emulate the white hoodies and the red iconography. I think AC3, for example, did it perfectly. I think that Watch Dogs Legions did it very well. And at the same time, I think that you can suspend your disbelief a little bit and have some cooler outfits. It wouldn't be as amazing as the old school outfits, but for someone like me who loves the modern day section of Assassin's Creed, and for Desmond to have an open world section in some game and never did get it, I think it would be an amazing opportunity to leverage. Imagine stealth missions in high-tech skyscrapers where you have a black box mission like in Assassin's Creed Unity, but instead of infiltrating the Notre Dame, you have to infiltrate some sort of penthouse and parachute in like in Assassin's Creed 3, or you have to scale the side of a building or hijack some sort of security system. The amount of missions that you'd have available to you in a modern day environment are near endless, and you can very quickly give your gun a silencer, work and do stealth in close environments so it doesn't make sense to be shot at all the time, and adapt a lot of the weapons to be reflected in the modern day. AC Origins, for example, has a modern day section where Layla has to go around killing some guards in the modern day, and you see how the guards have been adapted from the AC Origins NPC kind of guard stereotype. They have modern bows and are acting like the guards in AC Origin, but just with a modern skin over it, and it doesn't look too bad. Like, I was pretty immersed when I was taking down guards that have modern bows. This isn't supposed to be a one-to-one representation of reality, and I think Assassin's Creed thrives when it's 95% reality and 5% fiction, and that's where I think a lot of the combat and guards could take into account some of the more creative liberties that you would need to make an Assassin's Creed on the modern day work. And I think where this really thrives is in multiplayer. A modern day setting opens up incredible co-op opportunities, incredible different types of multiplayer like invasion or collaborating on a mission, heists, digital heists, a lot of like even street races if you want. Players could team up to infiltrate corporate headquarters or sneak in to steal some sort of artifact from a laboratory, and have a lot of dynamic gameplay revolving around one or more players. The series has already shown glimpses of the modern day, especially with Desmond Miles, but also with the tie-ins that it has to Watch Dogs. I urge you to play Watch Dogs 1 again if you haven't in a long time, especially with the new mod that kind of revolutionizes the game, because I think you'll see how if you play as an assassin in that game, and if you try and avoid playing it like a GTA clone, you can see, I think, how it's a proof of concept for putting an assassin in the modern day. You can very easily believe that you'd be some sort of masked or hooded vigilante walking around these cities, taking down enemies in warehouses, buildings, in closed down environments, and being stealthy and using your gun as an extension of the hidden blade. You can very much still use your hidden blade, and Desmond still does, for example, but using a silenced gun for gun-fu takedowns is a very natural way of progressing Assassin's Creed. And for those who say that Assassin's Creed shouldn't have guns, almost every single Assassin's Creed apart from the RPG trilogy has had guns in some form or another. AC1 didn't, but AC2 had the hidden gun, AC Brotherhood had the hidden gun, AC Revelations had the hidden gun, AC3 had guns, AC4 had 4 guns, Shay had like a rifle, AC Unity had guns, and so did AC Syndicate. So most Assassin's Creeds have actually had guns, and I think that it would be a very easy solution to have a gun with a silencer, walking around closed environments for, claustrophobic missions, and keeping that assassin identity. So I recommend that you play Watch Dogs 1, and if you're interested in seeing a video where I give my ideal settings that aren't the modern day and are more historical, you can watch this video now.